Greetings everyone, my name is Flare Bliss and we returned back to our adventures of Our Wonderland. As you can see, we are in some kind of predicament, which would be an understatement to say the least. Shout for help. My only hope is if someone hears me. Help! I push through with pain clawing at my throat, voice croaking. Help me! Louder this time. Me! Oh. A hand leaves my forehead just long enough to reel back and slap me across the cheek. My head shoots to the side so hard I see stars, and the side of my face burns like it's on fire. Oh, shut up, there's no one here to help you. She's still struggling to get my fly open one-handed, but she finally managed to wrestle the bottom loose. She smiles, fingers roving for the hole in my box of briefs. I don't like where this is going. At that moment, a slam rocks the room and the door flies open. What the? Genzou stands in the way, slack-jawed. His gaze goes from Gidget to me to the scissors. Genzou, leave us alone! Gidget's voice is like a demonic growl, deep and low and echoing off the walls. I'm not sure what's going through Genzou's mind at the moment, or if anything does at all. It happens so fast. Oh, hell no, I hear him behind. Exactly. And then he's charging at us, charging straight at the bed, straight at Gidget. She doesn't have time to react. His hands hit her straight across the middle, and the force of the impact sends her flying. That's going to be some force to reckon with. She slams into the window behind her, shattering the glass instantly. Oh gosh. Oh. Well, that is a spectacle and a half. Yeah, I mean, I was expecting her to go out of a window, not somewhere in between the realms of staying in the room and being outside, for goodness sakes. But this is gruesome in its own way. Does this mean we're not going to get Gidget for the rest of the adventure? Her body lands halfway across the frame. Hard. There's a nose-eating squelch as the jagged shards of glass still protruding from the still impale her from behind, jutting up through her chest like bloody daggers. Yeah, I think we should get out of here, to be honest. I don't move. And also, the local populace will be very, very unhappy with us. Genzou doesn't move. We both just stare at her limp body hanging halfway out the window. Her dress is soaked clean through, though. Red. So much red. It's dripping off the glass, running down the wall, pooling on the floor. Oh dear. That is really dark. And one thing I forgot to mention in the last episode is I think Gidget has some kind of crush on her, on Iggy, but at the same time, some kind of resentment towards him because of the fact that, well, she's never good enough for him, for some odd reason. It builds, louder and louder, until it bursts from my lips as a groan that buzzes and whirls in my throat. I scoop back along the bed, away from the window, until my back hits the wall. Yep. Genzou says quietly at first and louder. Fudge, fudge, I bring my hands to my face, my knuckles to my eyes, clenching them shut, trying to block out the scene in front of me. What do we do? What do we do? Come on, Genzou. Genzou is smacking his head with his palms. Something loud moves downstairs. Ooh, tables and chairs creaking and toppling, sliding, grinding footsteps on the hardwood floor. We gotta get out of here. Genzou twists towards the doorway, darts into the hallway. We've got big goddamn trouble on our hands, Iggy. His voice shakes. I don't think they like that we killed their idol. You don't say. I think we should get out of the venture in which the same way in which we accidentally killed Gidget. I watch him take a step back, then another. Then he leaps back into the room. Just before he manages to slam the door closed, I catch a glimpse of a person. If they could even be called a person. Their skin is gaunt and grey, and their eyes are puffy and red. some kind of undead mutant within this world which lost their human sanity once the person that they simp has died. They claw at the door like zombies. I hear low moans as the door shakes and rattles beneath their nails. We need to get out of here, I say with a shudder. No goddamn sheesh, so look. Genzou's face furtively around the room. But even I know the only exit is the window. Yep, but at least we got a nice cushion to put our feet on. I push myself shakily to my feet. There seems to be more of them outside the door now. The scratching is intensified. Genzou climbs onto the bed and over to the window, peering around Gidget's body to ascertain the situation outside. There's an overhang below. I think we can make the jump. But Gidget, Genzou winces. His breath hitches in his throat. I'm sorry, Gidget. Then he loops an arm around her pelvis and pushes. There's a crack. A snap as the remaining glass breaks. Then another push. All the way this time. It sends her sliding out the window as she disappears over the edge. I hear a thud from outside as her body lands on the overhang. Yeah, come on. Genzou reaches a hand towards me. Maybe that's not even the real Gidget, actually. I look towards him, towards the window, then back towards the door. That door isn't gonna last long. Genzou jerks his hand in growing desperation. The door in question is visibly shaky now. Lurch after lurch, sending it rattling on its hinges. I bite down on my lip and dart towards Genzou. It's at that moment that the door gives. It opens with a horrifying slam that sends the door flying backwards and bouncing off a wall, along with so many people coming towards us. It's almost like a torrent of water is coming towards us. Oh gosh, they really are zombies. And then the bodies come pouring in. There's so many of them. They crawl and lurch and moan like zombies. All of them with skin pulled taut across their bones and eyes sunken and pink. A whole pile of them spills over and through the doorway as they clutch and crawl over each other to get inside the room. Genzou wastes no time. He grabs me around the wrist, braces himself and leaps! Shoulder first. He breaks the remaining glass in the window frame and goes rolling out the other side, taking me with him. And we hit the overhang hard. A second later, the whole thing buckles beneath us, and we go clattering to the ground below in a shower of boards and shingles. I lay there for a moment, waiting for my ears to stop reeling, my body to stop screaming. Then push myself to my feet, carefully to avoid any errant nails and broken wood. Genzou groans next to me. He noses his shoulders as he sits up. God damn my life! But our lives are about to get a lot more sensational. Not really. The groans are loud above us, and I glance up to see Gidget's rabid fangs reaching and groping out through the window. Some of them are already attempting to pull themselves out after us, and the situation is not much better on the ground. More gaunt faces appear around the corners of the nearby buildings, limping and dragging themselves across the once cheery cobbles. Maybe Gidget was the life force that was enabling this village to keep their human forms, and now with their idol dead, there's nothing to stop them from going back to their original form of being zombies. Genzou, what do we do? Hiss. He lurches to his feet, clearly in pain, but he pushes through it, eyes clearing and gaze sharpening as he looks around. Well, we've got to get out of this village. Then finally, come on, I have an idea. He takes off. I yelp at the sound of a body falling behind us, then quickly follow. I'm not sure where we're going at first. Oh gosh, more zombies. We round the corner and Genzou jerks backwards at the approach of another swarm of clawing, reaching hands. Other way, other way! Exactly. We quickly reroute to the opposite road. circling around a set of buildings and just narrowly avoiding a convergence of two more packs. Two more packs of hungry Gidget fans have turned into zombies. And straight on, back to the main street, groans, moans, and guttural screeches filling the air around us. The pier. We're headed towards the pier, past the bakery, past the cafe, which are also now run by zombies. Then one more bend and the water appears, dark now but lined with white bobbing boats. That blue one, Genzou shouts, pointing somewhere towards the left. But they're everywhere now, spilling out of alleyways, falling from windows to splat against the ground, all of them lurching and reaching, bones creaking, eyes oozing. We race to the edge, and I see the little blue slope from earlier, its sail fluttering in the breeze. In! I don't even stop. I take a flying leap off the side of a pier and land against one of the boat's sides so hard I swear I lose consciousness for half a second. Temporary concussion. Genzou's right behind me, the boat sloshing in the water as he comes tumbling on board. I'm sure zombies cannot swim in this universe. And in my head I push myself back up and wait until my double vision recedes and I can actually make out the pier and the bodies swarming our way. Genzou, the rope! I try to walk forward, dizzy and wobbling. I got it! Genzou latches on to the rope, keeping the boat tight to the pier, but not as tight, and when he can't wrest it loose, he resorts to simply yanking it in jerking tugs that send shudders through the boat's frame. They're getting closer, almost to the water now, like a hungry wave spilling over the edge of a bucket. I bring my hands to my hair, clutching at the curls, then frantically begin searching the boat for anything that might free us from that rope. Oh, I got it, this axe. There's a pile of rigging, a flare gun, a couple of spare boards. Finally, I personally like the flare gun, but that's just me. Finally, underneath the front overhang, I find a small toolbox, and in it, God almighty, a rigging knife. I snatch it up, then fly over to Genzou and begin hacking at the rope. I was about to say I'm going to be hacking these zombies up like in one of those animes where I'm able to slice up 1,000 million foes in one slash. The individual fibers snap one by one and agonizingly slow, but it's working. I raise my hand for an extra punishing swing, only to find it caught midair. I look up to see my wrist ensnared by a set of grizzled grey thing. Oh gosh, I scream, jerk back. Hello there, you mindless fiends, but there's already more of them, and they're crawling forward off the edge of the pier, groping and clawing at my arm, face and hair. There's 3, 4, 5 sets of fingers wrapped around my arm now, and I can feel my feet start to leave the ground. They're pulling me back. Genzou! I scream so loud I can feel my vocal cords rip. Genzou wraps his arms around my waist, digging his heels into the side of the boat. Let him go, you goddamn monstrosities! Pain shoots through my shoulder and upper arm. They're gonna rip it off! Uh-oh. I start to hyperventilate, heart beating out of my chest. I wriggle, yank, swat desperately with my free arm as they pull and pull and pull. But even more latching on, forming a bridge of flesh from the pier towards the boat and allowing even more of the things to crawl across. I could feel their fingers dig into my hair, my scalp, scraping my eyes and cheeks. Genzou groans behind me, and the pressure of my midsection builds as he clings to me tighter. Damn! He jerks backwards. And this time the force is so great it sends the boat reeling backwards, and final remaining fibers of the rope snap. The boat breaks free, and the zombies lashed onto me get pulled off the pier and into the water. I nearly go with them, Probably would have, too, if Genzou hadn't locked his legs around the underside of one of the boat's seats. A very smart idea. I feel the arms loosen, fall away, and use a new freedom to bat frantically at the ones that still remain. Finally, the last one loses its grip, and I watch the fiend sink down into the inky blackness outside of the boat. Good guy, Genzou. It's all I can do to sit there and breathe, to not collapse right then and there. My knees feel like twin piles of goo, and my arms and fingers tingle with swirling numbness. Genzou unwraps himself from my waist, sliding backwards down onto his rear end. Jesus! I follow suit, sitting shakily on one of the seats, and as I'm sitting there, as I'm breathing and shuddering and taking it all in, it hits me. Tears flood my cheeks. Yep, this is time to just not be so entranced with what's going on and just let it all out. Tears come out like a river leaking down my face. My shoulders rock, chest gasping, mucus oozing down my lips. I can't stop it. It's like someone's flipped a switch and now there's no going back. Genzou pulls himself up next to me, wrapping an arm around my shoulder. Genzou, all of this time, was our one true homie. No way would Gidget get her claws on me. No way would any of our compatriots which you have yet to find are going to find their way here. Cry it out. Just cry it out. He gives my shoulder a firm squeeze. And that's exactly what I do. For how long we do not know, until the emotions eventually subside. We float across the water all night. We try to stay awake at first, patch ourselves up, remain vigilant. But the weary tendrils asleep are quick to descend. I curl up with my head on the pile of rigging, hugging my arms to my chest and hoping to all things holy that when I wake up I'll be back in my bed, and all of this will have been nothing but a horrible nightmare. But it's not. And when I creak my bleary eyes open again to take in the sun on the horizon, all I see is a wide swath of blue as far as the eye can see. We take turns rowing with the square boards lying at the bottom of the boat. I'm unsure if it does anything, but it at least feels more productive than sitting there twiddling our thumbs. My voice is so hoarse, my throat raw. Genzou tells me my neck looks fine, but his look of concern betrays him. I must look awful, like I've just been on a heavy night out and I drunk 10 too many tequila shots. If that's even a thing, especially with all the scratches I can feel staining my cheeks and forehead. I can imagine Genzou feels much better. I catch him rubbing his shoulder where he doesn't see me looking. We don't speak about what happened. That would make it too real. Instead, we sit mostly in silence, rowing, resting, watching the sun rise overhead, then begin its slow descent back down. And at sunset, the sky just starts to turn a soft shade of pink when Genzou makes a noise. He points in the direction we're floating. Spires on the horizon. That's a good sign. Land! Land ho! I smile in spite of myself. Thank goddamn goodness. We've both set to rowing now, anxious to be back on solid ground despite the fear of what might await us. Nothing could top what just happened at this point. Well, you did walk on a huge ton with an eyeball following you around. We did have a rabbit go after us and try to impale us with a spear. A two-handed spear, for goodness sakes. Right? Right. The floating spires turn out to be attached to a castle. A large castle, mind you. And as we row closer, it looms all the larger. Soaring walls, giant towers, twisting walkways, and glittering red peaks. surrounded on the outside by a wide moat, and even further out by the red and orange roofs of a small castle town. Genzou whistles beneath his teeth. Quite the hunk of architecture. Was there ever a castle here? My bad. I ask softly as I feel myself becoming much smaller in its shadow. Don't remember, but that's not saying much. I chew on the inside of my cheek. That's a line that keeps happening over and over again. Chewing on the inside of one's own cheek. There's no flashes of memory here, not like back in the village. But we are quite a ways from the cottage now. We might never have even come out this far before. Exactly. There's a scrapping rumble beneath us, and the boat slows to a stop. We've hit land. There's no dock or pier here, instead the lake simply glides us against the bank, almost like some kind of grassy beach. And here we are, we hop out of the boat and into the ankle-deep water and drag it the rest of the way, not wanting it to get swept back out on the water, lest we need it for another quick escape. No thanks. And then we go back to the original destination. We just find a bunch of zombies still wanting to get after us. My feet squish inside my shoes. It's getting pretty dark now, and I'm not too keen on walking around this place at night. Maybe there's a place to shack up in town. Genzou rolls his legs of his pants down around his ankles. I simply nod. A soft place to lay our heads would be a welcome respite at this point. There was, until somebody decided to get a bit too selfish for her own endeavors and wanted to cut out... I'm going to leave that there, actually. So I lead us up the hall and in the direction of the buildings we saw earlier. It's not far. Already I can see what look like fishing shacks just up a bend, and past that, a cobblestone road leading into the town proper. Hopefully it's not another town which has another set of followers, which has yet another leader, which is yet another Gidget. Or Gidget. I put my head into the open door of one of the shacks. No one there, no one traveling the road either. It's almost eerily quiet. Ding dong, anyone home? Genzou knocks on another one of the doors. He shrugs at the lack of reply. We follow the road towards what seems to be the center of town, more and more buildings lining out either side, but even here the paths remain empty, and the windows of the buildings are dark. Maybe there also were Gidget fans here, and they just simply withered away. The only sound is the foundation in the middle of a square. Tingling, tingling, tingling. I know I've got a bit of a reputation, but I didn't think it was that bad. This was weird. I think that's pronounced, one of those situations. Yeah, it's pretty messed up. I look to the left, two buildings that look like stores sit silent and motionless. Hastily scrolled closed signs hang askew from the doors. I look to the right, the dark windows of a small cafe stare back hauntingly. Its outdoor setting area are devoid of life. Where's everyone gone? I'm going to try something. Genzou cups his hands around his mouth. He takes a deep breath, and what's he going to do? Genzou, no! I hiss and grab his arm. What? He shoots at me a look of confusion, but suddenly, for some reason, making noise seems like a really bad thing. The whole back of my neck is tingling. I tilt my head, strain my ears. Footsteps. Marching footsteps. Far away now, but getting close. We need to hide. I promptly yank Genzou off towards the gap between the two nearby buildings. We anchor down in the shadow with our backs to the wall, waiting, listening. I wonder if one of our other friends is somehow the ruler of this village, this castle. Footsteps are close now, and that rhythm, sharp and methodical, and perfectly in time. Oh gosh, just hope there's no rabbits again. I don't know who it is that's going to appear from around the building. Oh, just like I called it, a battalion of rabbits march into the square 2x2, ears jouncing, eyes twitching, and boots smacking the ground in harmonized cadence. Jesus, I hear Genzou whisper beneath his breath. I press my back even tighter against a wall. Ah, the rabbits come to a synchronized stop in front of a fountain. Is that the same one that tried to impale us while we were escaping on the turn? I'm not too sure, but the Nine of Spades just seems very familiar. It's not the Ace of Hearts though. It's not the same battalion as before. Okie dokie, that much I can tell. Their leader at least doesn't seem quite as jumpy, or quite as, well, murderous of her own kind. Grab in question procures a folded sheet of parchment from within his armor, unfolds it, coughs, then squawks. Chanticleer Elands, you are hereby under arrest by order of the king. You are to surrender yourself peacefully. Failure to do so will be understood as treason to the crown, and we will be forced to use whatever means necessary to detain you. That includes death. Another cough. He lowers the paper, looks around. The square is still empty. He scowls and rolls his eyes. Search the houses! He belts and returns the paper to the silt in his armor. The other rabbits set to motion immediately, each of them darting off towards a different house. They don't even bother knocking. They slam open the doors with their shoulders and disappear inside. Their frenzied stomping is soon mixed with frightened yelps and screams. There are people inside. I gulp, clench my eyes shut. But that just makes it even more terrifying, so I open back up, gaze driftily shakily between each of the open doors. A high-pitched scream bites through the air. Found her, sir! One of the rabbits emerges from the house on the other side of the square. His hand is clenched in the long blonde hair of a woman in a brown dress, and he's dragging her out in sharp yanks that punctuate her screams. Excellent work, Sentry. The lead rabbit marches over in 2 crisp steps. He slides the paper back out and folds it, and coughs. Chanticleer Elands, you are hereby under arrest by the order of the king. You are to She screams even louder, on and on and on and on. Hey! Do not interrupt me while I'm trying to read out my monologue, thank you very much. How dare you scream even though your life is in danger? Even from as far away as we are, the sound of it jabs my eardrums like a knife. The lead rabbit stops and sighs. Just take her in. He jabs a thumb in the direction of the castle. The sentry salutes, then drags her kicking, squirming body across the cobblestones. Doors slam around us as the rest of the sentries abandon their searches and return to formation. They're heading back. I feel my chest begin to loosen. Over here, sir! It takes me a second to realize the shout is coming from right behind us. I turn just as one of the sentries bunts Genzou with the butt of his— oh my gosh! Genzou yelps, rams into me as we both go sprawling out in the street. 2 suspicious individuals hiding over here. I tend to push myself up to my knees only for a sentry's boot to come down hard on my back. Well, 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 what do we have here? I hear him march towards us, crisp, methodical. Up, he gestures. Before I can wonder what he means, the sentry he has grabbed both of us by the back of our collars and heaved us off the ground. Damn. Why are we going in this adventure of the Wonderland, which is not very wonderful at the very moment? It is story-wise, but for our situation it's not. The fabric of my shirt digs into my throat, and my arms are flung up to my either side like a chicken about to take flight. I try to kick, to fight, I really do, but my feet don't even touch the ground. Short people syndrome. And all I manage to do is further cut off the circulation in my already tender neck as I swing. The lead rabbit grabs me by the chin and wrenches my head upwards. His fingers bite into my jaw and cheeks. Ooh. Interesting. My head twists He twists my head to the right, to the left. Then lets my head drop as unexpected as he grabbed it. I think the situation here is just don't try and fight, because you're going to end up in more pain. He moves on to Genzou. Genzou just grins. If you want to play rough, all you have to do was ask. Oh my goodness sakes, man. Do you really have to go that route? I should have a thing for bondage play. This towards Genzou with a backhanded slap to the face and he yelps, "Shut up!" But something must catch the rabbit's eye, because his ears go as straight as lightning rods. He grabs Genzou again and jerks his head the other way. This is the one His Majesty is looking for. The rabbit smiles, laughs, grin reaching towards his ears. "Sir?" the sentry holding us asks, then with a squawk that makes my ears ring, "Bring them in! Both of them!" The lead rabbit lets Genzou's hand fall and claps his hands together, clearly tickled pink. "We'll be eating well tonight, gentlemen." "Sir!" the sentry tries to salute, then must realize he can't as his arms are full of, well, us. For goodness sakes, one rabbit can hold two of us, that's quite impressive, and simply straightens instead, clean his heels together. "Back in formation!" The lead rabbit screeches again, and the sentries are quick to get back in line. Our sentry follows. Just when I'm wondering if we're going to be carried like this the whole way, the world turns upside down, and I'm tossed like a sack of potatoes over the sentry's shoulder. My forehead smacks the backside of his arm with an audible clang. Once my head stops spinning, I glance over to Genzou draped over the shoulder of another sentry. It's all I can do to throw him a look of helplessness as the marching begins anew beneath us, taking us towards the castle and whatever or whoever awaits us there. Who is the goddamn king? We are somewhere and nowhere at the same time. Oh! The shiny marble floor of the ground hall welcomes me to the castle with a crack to my jaw. I simply lie there for a moment as the tendrils of pain shoot up through my shoulder and face, and slowly push myself up on my hands. I swear I can still hear the reverberating slap of my body hitting the floor echoing off the walls. In front of us is a grand staircase, and when my gaze follows it upwards, I'm met with the highest ceiling I've ever seen in my life, except the ceiling from the ground to the sky, that is. Up, up, up it goes, and decorated with multiple crystalline chandeliers at its peak. Stained glass windows of brilliant kaleidoscopic designs lines the walls on the way back down, although some of the walls are just entirely red and nothing else, followed on the lower levels by dark-colored tapestries at least 3 times my height. I suddenly feel very small. "Attention!" a screech from behind me, and the sentries circling us pull a crisp salute. Genzou groans and rolls over, then pushes himself up to a seat. After having experienced it, I can now say that getting thrown on your shoulder like a continental soldier is not the romantic fantasy I've always envisaged. It's quite for a moment. Then, who's coming out then? I hear footsteps. Oh, a figure there, sorry. From the far hallway, a small figure emerges, clapping its hands together slowly. Glad to see that mouth of yours hasn't changed despite your newly regained visual acuity. Is that Autumn? It is Autumn. So you're the king here. It's Autumn. Goddamn Autumn. Sporting a gaudy as goddamn hell crown. A red velvet cape with white and black fur, and escorted on either side by a pair of over-embellished rabbit attendants. My jaw drops nearly to the floor. Wait, Genzou has to bring hand to his mouth to stifle his laughter. He nearly chokes. What? Autumn? You look like the love child of Prince John and Madame Medusa. Orlan's face goes red. He clenches his fists. His jaw tightens. Softens. He forces a smile. Must be so tired having walked all this way. I push myself to my feet with a little wobble. We're not going to go with it's not so bad, because what we experience is anything but not so bad. It is a little bit much, I say beneath my breath. I stick out a foot to catch my balance. Oh, only for the nearest sentry to thrust his spear right in front of my stomach. I jerk backwards with a stumble that almost sends me back to the floor. Now. There's no need for any of that. Orlan spreads his arms. These are my guests. I want you to treat them with nothing but the utmost respect. He glides towards us, little cape fluttering, and the sentry pauses but ultimately retracts his spear. Orlan tut-tuts beneath his breath, hands to my collar to fix the skewed fabric. Look at you. You look awful. He wipes the dirt off the front of my shirt and smooths down the hem. No, that won't do. We'll get you cleaned up, get some food in those bellies, and you'll stay in two of my grandest rooms. Genzou huffs to his feet next to me and straightens his hat. Who died and made you king, huh? Orlan just smiles off that off-kilter smile of his, laughs. Every syllable is perfectly inoculated, with an identical gap between each. I suppose his wish was to become king of sorts. Wouldn't you like to know? Damn. That smile of his was quite entertaining, to say the least. So yeah, Genzou and Orlan did not have the finest of histories, I imagine. Orlan sends us off to the baths, each with our own rabbit attendant. Our own incredibly dotting rabbit attendant. It's weird enough when my attendant helps me undress, but it gets exponentially weirder the moment he guides me into the tub and begins scrubbing me down. You know I can wash myself, I say as I blow a cluster of bubbles off my nose. The rabbit has my wrist in the air and is currently scrubbing the underside of my arm. His Majesty wants to ensure you're spotless, is the only response I get. Once the cleansing is finished and I feel as though I've lost about 3 layers of skin, I'm toweled off and dressed in a thick white robe. Then it's to the large vanity where my curls are blown dry, and where I'm given a choice view of the state of my face for the first time. I grimace in a mirror. Purple and brown bruises form a circle around my throat, coming to a head just beneath my ears, and my cheeks are lined with rough red scratches. Even my eyes look bad, dark and red and sporting twin black circles that stretch towards my nose. My attendant finishes brushing up my now fuzzy hair, and I place my glasses back on my nose, thankful their thick frames hide some of the damage around my eyes. There's a knock at the door, and another rabbit enters the room, holding a neatly folded set of clothes. It takes me a second to realize they're my own. Ah, so they must have washed them. Wait, when did you... They've been cleaned and dried and perfectly pressed. I have no idea. I couldn't have been in the bath longer than 20 minutes. Well, these rabbits are efficient, it must be said. My attendant, of course, has no inclination of letting me dress myself. I raise my arms and he tugs my shirt over my head, smoothing it carefully across my front and back, then tugs me into my pants and clenches the waist tight with the clasp. My fear of doing something wrong and everything going to hell supersedes my severe discomfort with the whole situation. Once I'm finally finished, my attendant leads me back out into the hall. Genzou and his attendant emerge from the door on the opposite side at almost exactly the same time. He looks disturbed. Was that the weirdest goddamn thing you've ever experienced, or did they do something different to you? He hisses as our attendants guide us back downstairs. You mean with the bathing and everything? Yes! He shoots his attendant a weary look. My guy definitely spent too long. God, I'm trying not to laugh too much. Why do you have to word it like that? Oh dear. It's almost like we're a fan of somebody, so no matter what they say, we support them regardless. As if we are doing just that. I feel my face flush. I didn't really pay attention. I was just so enamored by the whole situation. Truth be told, I spent most of my time in the bath with my eyes closed and thinking of England. Yep, that's what I do. I always think of England. I mean, I live in England. At the bottom of the steps, we turn right. I suppose that's just a saying at university. And the rabbits take us down a grand corridor lined on either side with Titanic-sized flags. Each one we pass is a, hopefully they don't sink like the Titanic, is a darker shade of red, leading to a giant set of double doors at the end of the hall. Two more rabbit attendants step to the side as the doors open on their own, like magic, revealing an enormous golden ballroom. And also, it looks like we're going to eat like kings tonight, as the table is decorated with only what could be the finest of food. And at its center, a long table piled high with some of the most opulent food I've ever seen in my life. Plump roasts, golden rolls, buttery pies, cakes with more tears than I can count. This isn't a wedding, you know, with the amount of tears on this cake. And colors. So many colors. Bright and vivid, and all of it steaming hot. Sitting atop brilliant bronze tableware that gleams in the light of the chandeliers. Yeah, this place seems more welcoming than the village we went to when we saw Gidget. There's even a real working fountain, pumping out what looks like pints of liquid chocolate, which also somehow is alcohol at the same time. My eyes practically bug out of my head. Next to me, Genzou marks the sign of a cross in front of his chest. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned, or for what I am going to sin. The sin of gluttony. A feast for the eyes, no? We spared no expense, I laugh. Not that we would need to. Genzou twitches. Do you have to do that creepy coming out of a shadow screen like some kind of goddamn rodent? Orlem just smiles. His already heavily lidded eyes squinting further in amusement. I get to eat like this every night, but I'm quite sure it's quite the treat for both of you. I somehow said quite twice, sorry. Yeah, we're really impressed with your ability to wish your way into power. Genzou rolls his eyes. Orlem ignores him. He umbles over and throws his arms around both of our shoulders. Gentlemen, it's been so long. Can't we just enjoy this evening of opulence together? The night is still young after all, and our lives have only just begun. Let's live like kings, or as close to it as you two will ever get. Will you try to be inspired by King Henry VIII? Where the 5 of your 6 wives' remains are. Genzou winces, but allows himself to be guided towards the table all the same. It is a rather tempting sight. And oh gosh, look at all this. We've seated on either side of the table more sets of rabbits attendants scurrying to ready our chairs. Ooh. Orlem himself sits at the head of the table in an extravagant throne that looks like it could fit 5 of him inside of it, yes. Or perhaps sits isn't the right word, more lounges. It's almost like a sofa rather than a chair. He leans back amongst the piles of cushions and blankets lining the seat, chin balanced on his palm. I wonder if he eats laying down as well. I imagine that's very uncomfortable both for the stomach. Then raises his arm in the air and snaps his fingers. What do you think you are, Thanos? One of the rabbit attendants waiting aside the far door darts over and places a golden wine glass in his outstretched hand, then immediately fills it. Orlum swirls it, takes a sip, glances at us, both simply watching him in awkward disbelief. He waves a hand in exasperation. Eat! Eat! I snap my hand back towards the food. I am hungry. Famished even. I haven't had anything to eat since arriving here. I reach forward and begin grabbing some of the best looking items off the table, filling up my plate. Genzou snorts as he forks a giant slice of roast and rips half of it off of his teeth. You sure got everyone whipped around here. I mean, what do you expect? I am the king. I can do whatever I want, and no one's gonna stop me. He takes another gulp of his wine. It feels good to be respected for once. So I suppose his wish is really rooted to just being an individual that wants to be respected by others. And in the real world, he never really got that respect that he always wanted. So I think becoming king is just a bystander of what he wants to actually be. And that's just to be respected. So taking away the ability to be respected, then his powers of his wish will diminish. I spoon a dollop of buttery potatoes into my mouth. My mind goes immediately to the town outside and that woman we saw dragged screaming from her home. A little iron-fisted, isn't it? I shrug. They needed discipline. You should have seen the place when I arrived. Nothing but chaos, anarchy, in order to keep the masses in line. This was followed by a smirk. I'm making great progress. Oh, I get it. No one likes you, so you have to force them to like you. Should I expect no one from you, Big O? Orlum twitches, but otherwise doesn't react. He leans forward with an ever-present smile. Wine, gentlemen? His arm goes up before we have a chance to respond. Another snap sends two rabbit attendants to the table with ready glasses to serve us. What I would prefer cider, like a Recordleg or a Copperberg, or even an Old Mouse cider, really, but I'll take the wine as second place. Oh, sure. Don't mind if I do. We're complete contraries of accepting wine. There's one person who tries to accept it, wants it, but is really nervous about it, and the other is just like, yes, give me the wine. I sip slowly at my own, washing down a chunk of what seems to be bacon-wrapped asparagus. Ooh. My gaze goes back to Orlum. He's watching Genzou, staring at Genzou. Leaning forward, chin in his hand, grinning from ear to ear. His eyes follow Genzou's every move, from the moment of the wine glass from mouth to table, to the forkfuls of cottage pie he shovels into his mouth. If I'm reading this correctly, then it must be that us as Iggy will one day need to save Genzou. Because remember that Gidget has a crush on us for some reason, and then has a lot of resentment towards her. So maybe in Orlum's place, the same kind of resentment applies, but there could also be a drive of wanting to eradicate Genzou, but in his own way that satisfies his curiosity. Something inside me, deep down beneath my bowels, sparks and twists in strange discomfort. What do you put in this food? Orlum picks up a fork and uses it to cut off a small piece of a bright red meatloaf. He jams it onto the towels, then floats it in Genzou's direction. We're not a dog. Try some of the loaf. Genzou, I wouldn't personally try the thing that the king wants you to eat. Genzou wipes the pie crumbs off his mouth, gobbles up a piece of Orlem's fork, without question, then sets to his bowl of stew. He slurps up a spoonful, then raises a finger, still chewing. None of this negates the fact that I'm thinking you're a conniving douchebag, you know. Just that I'm really hungry. Oh, I wouldn't have it any other way. Orlem places the fork back down, hands to his cheeks like a pinning lover. Another lightning-like jab in my gut. As hungry as I am myself, I'm having a hard time fighting the constricting twist in my stomach. What is that twist? Can't I have some Get a room already. Now let's just compliment the food. These potatoes are divine. I let out a loud cough, thumping my chest. Damn, these potatoes are divine. I mean, wow, just really hitting the spot. You know what I mean? You had any yet, Gen? I'm obnoxiously loud, but I don't even care. Anything to break the weird tension. And these cutlets, wowza, melt in your mouth good right here. Orlem sits back and away from Genzou. I catch a flash of annoyance in his eyes, but it quickly morphs into amusement. Enjoying yourself, aren't you? He slowly twirls his glass. It is pretty good, damn good, isn't it, Iggs? Genzou laughs, mouthful of food. I haven't eaten like this Wait, have I even eaten like this at all? He blinks. Seems to forget what he was going to say. And instead roves his fingers over a plate of cream-filled eclairs. Glad you gentlemen are pleased. I wouldn't want my guests to be disappointed. I swallow a chunk of cutlet in my mouth, feeling some of my anxiety disappear down into my stomach with it. Where did you get your food anyway? Must be a good source. I imagined it and it came to life. Orlem rests his cheek on his knuckles, grinning as though delighted by a joke in his head. Oh, it's very good. Close by too. Only the freshest cuts make it to my table, whereas the oldest rigged cuts go to the poor peasants out there that are struggling to make themselves a living. Damn, I was really dark there, but I was just trying to imagine myself into this universe. I gotta say, if there was one thing that could keep me here, it would definitely be the food. The cream of the eclair has somehow made its way onto Genzou's nose. And like a dog, the only way he can get rid of it is by licking it off. His words, though, remind me of our current situation. So, Orlem. I start wiping off my mouth with a napkin. What's your plan then? You're just gonna stay down here? Orlem rolls over his throne to face me, returning to his wine. Oh, I don't know. Just playing it by ear, I guess. Isn't like anyone's gonna miss me up there. And there's just, you know, so much good I can do here. Why rush things? Why, indeed, I mutter to myself, disguising my words with my wine glass. But have you looked at all into how the door opened in the first place? You obviously have quite a bit of reach down here. You could be looking into what's going on, searching for bugs. Orlem blows a raspberry. Sounds like a load of work, or a lot of work, sorry. He raises his wine glass above his head, slowly spinning it back and forth. Besides, if Bugs is down here, she must not want to be found. I certainly haven't seen any traces of her, and neither have any of my men. You mean those sentries? Genzou guffaws. If I was stuck down here with you, I'd steer clear too. Hey, you continuously jabbing at our almighty king here. More wine, Genzou? Orlem asks lazily. Does a chicken have lips? Another snap of her fingers. Then a rabbit attendant returns to the table with a newly opened bottle of wine filling up Genzou's glass. Despite the blazed response, his words do give me pause. Orlem's rabbit guards seem to be everywhere. If even they've never run into bugs, maybe she really isn't here? But that doesn't make any sense. Maybe her wish is to not be found, but she is still somewhere down here. Curious. Very curious. Something wrong, Iggy? Orlem's leaning towards me this time. Not enjoying your food? I give it a start. No, it's not. Run a hand through my cars. Tiny tendrils of sweat beginning to form on my forehead. Just not feeling super hot, I guess. Maybe I need to lie down for a bit. Of course. You've surely been through quite the ordeal. Yeah, that's it. That's why we're not 100%. I swear tomorrow night, if we get the same treatment, I will be much more positive. He snaps his fingers again. Guards, take Ignitus to the room we've prepared. He needs his rest. He's not called Iggy, it's Ignitus, or Ignatius. 2 guards emerge from the main doorway. They march over and pull my chair away from the table. I stand up somewhat hesitantly and throw Genzou a look across the table. He's still chomping away happily. Catch up with you later, Iggs. Yeah, okay. Sleep well now. Orlem waves and the guards let me out of the ballroom and back into the hallway. My head is really starting to feel fuzzy now. Sweat dribbles down the back of my neck and a cold chill sends goosebumps up and down my arms. The guards take me up multiple flights of stairs and my legs feel more jellified with each landing we reach. Finally, we turn down a hallway lined with ornately carved doors. They open the second door on the left and beckon me inside. It's delightfully dim inside. Nothing but a fluttering candelabra on the bedside table to light the room. And quiet too. Somehow it cools the intense beating starting up in the back of my head. I head straight for the bed. It's enormous and piled high with soft white pillows, and when I shirk off my pants and slip under the sheets, it feels heavily on my skin. Tired. So tired. My eyes close on their own. Hot. I was about to say heavy, fair, dizzy. Tired. There's a thrum at the base of my skull. I think of Genzou chomping at a table, of Orlem, and their eerily cloying smile. Had Orlem always had been like that? I can't seem to remember. Mousy, for sure, but never so downright creepy. I can see him. I can see all of them. They're sitting at a table in the cafeteria, scarfing down the trays of hamburgers, peas, and carrots. Orlem's next to Genzou, slurping quietly at his milk carton. He smiles when Genzou talks. Laughs harder than anyone when Genzou makes a joke. I'm still waiting in line for my food. I grab it and head towards the table with my friends. Hey, Iggs is here. Genzou glances up at my arrival. Damn it. Make room, he elbows Orlem hard and Orlem goes tumbling off the bench. Milk splashing up and onto his shirt and face. Oh, come on, Genzou. Why you always like this to Orlem? Sit your ass down here, Iggs. You know, if you shuffled over to the right a little bit, then there'll be room for all 3 of us. I stand there a moment, looking at the vacated seat, looking at Orlem on the floor. Orlem returns the gaze helplessly. Damn. Genzou, why you gotta be such a prick towards Orlem? Finally, I sit down and push Orlem's tray out of the... And Iggs, you're not helping the situation either. No wonder Orlem is so resentful towards Genzou, and possibly you two as well. Genzou wraps his arms around my shoulder with a laugh and launches straight back into the story he's been telling. On the floor, Orlem pushes himself up on his bony little knees to reach his tray, face dark. He spends the rest of lunch in silence. Damn. My stomach gurgles. Maybe we're too hard on him all these years. You don't say! I'm not even sure why he kept hanging out with us, to be honest. No other friends, I suppose. None of us had any other friends. I let out a sigh. My face feels so hot. I haven't come down with something. I wonder for a moment if Genzou is still eating. Then drift off into restless sleep. Just think about sleep. Sleep is all one needs. All one needs. What do you want, Iggy? What do you wish for more than anything else in the whole world? I'm not sure what it is that wakes me up. My sleep hadn't been all that deep. I can vaguely remember tossing and turning a few times, but even then, my head had remained foggy and my breath slow. Now, however, my mind feels as sharp as a tack, and I can feel my heart beating at the quickened pace against my ribs. I open my eyes. The room is dark. The candles must have gone out at some point, but it's quiet, motionless, nothing and no one there that could have woken me up. I stare at the ceiling. My forehead and cheeks are sweaty, and my legs feel restless. The strange feeling in my gut from dinner is back. Not quite as pronounced, but still there, lying low and every so often sending twinges of anxious nausea up into my stomach. I roll over, pause a moment, then slide my feet off the side of the bed and sit up. I reach for my glasses and will my heart to calm. This isn't working. I'm probably just anxious. Who wouldn't be after everything that's happened? Maybe a short walk will help. Get some air. Cool off a bit. I trudge over towards the chair where I'd left my pants in a crumbled pile and slouch down to put them on. I grimace and turn up my nose. My mouth tastes awful. Maybe I can find the kitchen and get some water while I'm at it. And head for the door. The light of the hallway blinds me for a moment as I step outside. It's equally as quiet out here as it was in the room, and once I'm able to look around I find myself alone. No guards, no attendants. Are we in a dream? Just one long empty hallway with door after door after door. I wonder where Genzou is. Did they put him in the room next to mine? Another yawn. I start forward down the hallway. I'm pretty sure I can remember the way back downstairs, and by then I'm sure there'll be someone I can ask for directions or even to get the water for me. The attendants certainly seem willing to help. The hall opens up, widening as it curls around to connect to the stairs. I trace my hand along the railing as I start down, taking it slow and easy and keeping an eye out for one of the rabbits. One flight. Two. I make it to the bottom with still no sign of life. Up ahead and through the archway I see the wide expanse of the grand hall. I entertain the thought of calling out for someone, but ultimately decide against it. Somehow I don't want to hear what my voice would sound like in the midst of all that emptiness, and how far it would echo if I do indeed call out. I start for the hall, only to freeze. Footsteps. More than one. In fact, a whole lot of footsteps. But they're in the opposite direction, away from the hall and down a windowless corridor to my left. I blink in silence, chew on my bottom lip, then walk quietly, every so quietly down the corridor. There's a fork up ahead, and when I peek around the corner I see the tail end of a battalion of rabbits at the end of the long hall. They're moving away from me, and in a few moments more they disappear entirely down another corridor to the left. Interesting. I've forgotten about the water entirely by this point. The sparkle of unease in my gut has gotten stronger, and now it's pulling me down the hall after them. With a final glance behind me, I follow, silently, stealthily, but quick enough that I don't potentially lose them around whatever twists and turns await. I make it to the next corner, pause, then chance a glance. Nothing. They're gone. I pull back, furrow my brows. Then check a second time, still nothing. I pull away from the wall entirely and creep closer. There aren't any other forks or hallways to turn down. Just one straight track leading to the far wall. And yet, they simply disappeared. I scratched my head. Well, that was weird. I step towards the wall, placing my hands against the stone, but it feels solid. At least as far as I can tell. I give it a frustrated slap. Then with a low rumble, it moves. What? I step back with a start. First it moves backwards, as though recoiling from my touch. Then with a grinding creak that rattles my jaw, it switches gears and pulls off and away to the right, leaving behind a neatly stoned tunnel in its wake. Guess it explains it. I mumble out loud without realizing it. The tunnel appears dark at first, but I can see light further down. Despite my misgivings, I can't stop at this point. I'm in way too deep. This tunnel looks like it's going to go into something that's going to be very, very morbid. And that's where we're going to leave things off here, folks. Thank you so much for watching, and let me know what you think about these adventures so far. And I'm pretty positive that rather of all of them going after us, like Gidget went after us, I think all of them has a bit of a personal vendetta against Genzou. And it's up to us to save Genzou. Oh my god, it's even called the slaughterhouse, for goodness sakes. What a teaser for the next episode. Also, one more thing as an observation. I'm currently playing this off streaming mode on, which means there shouldn't be any copyrighted music involved. But yet, aside from the first episode, there's been at least 1 or 2 tracks within each video that's cropped up as seen as copyrighted. So I'm not too sure about that particular episode. But let me know what you think is going on throughout this game. Like, I feel like we're going to be within the Wonderland for a long time. Like, there's also the factor of our 2 friends in disappearance. Thank you all so much for watching, everybody. Let me know what you like about Our Wonderland at the very most so far up to this point of the game. And we shall see each other in the next time. Thank you all so much for watching and take care of yourselves.